It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Groovy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. Before we get into anything, let's just go ahead and say, hey, this episode will drop the week of Thanksgiving. So wish everybody who does celebrate Thanksgiving have a happy Thanksgiving. Safe travels if you're going anywhere, even if it's just across town to meet with friends and loved ones. I just hope you have a good time. And God, the year's almost over. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Woo.
So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, man. My little corner blew up.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. I'll just leave it at, I got a new mouse. But I've had my computer tore apart for most of the week, so I haven't really done much but that. That's a lot more than what it sounds like, though. But I did get a chance to watch a movie. I had a friend recommend it, and if they would have cut off the last 10 minutes of the movie, I absolutely would have loved the movie. It was called Perfume, the Making of a Murder. And I don't know. It was different. This guy's born with like an amazing scent of smell. If you haven't seen this, I do believe it's an older movie by now. And of course it is, because it's got Alan Rickman in it, and he's no longer with us. But and Dustin Hoffman is with us, but anyways, he was born with an amazing sense of smell, and he can like smell everything. And he runs across a girl one evening, and he's just so like, he can't believe what he's smelling, because he's been like a slave, and people were just real mean to him and stuff. So the first time he gets out in the city, he runs into this girl, and he winds up killing her. Now, the first time he kills, I don't think he meant to kill her. He scared her. I mean, it was kind of creepy. He was sniffing her. That's weird. But he like covered her mouth so nobody, because people were coming down. So I think he meant to keep her quiet until they left. And then when he took his hand off her mouth, that's when he found out, oh, I killed her, But ever since he smelled her, I guess, he was like, I want to preserve someone's essence. And that's kind of what this movie is about. It's perfume, of course, title. And I don't know. The movie, the way the film, I don't know if I'm saying this right. The filmography, the way it was shot was amazing. Of course, like I said, we had Dustin Hoffman and Alan Rickman in it, who were absolutely amazing. The story was good, like I said, until you get to the last 10 minutes, and spoiler alert, but the last 10 minutes, it was kind of bullshit, to make a perfume, you have to have 3 different parts, as a head, a base, and the end note. And usually your middle notes are what everyone else will smell. That's kind of the lingering scent is the base note. Well, there's 12, in this movie, There's more now, of course. But in this movie, there's 12 different ways you can get those 3 bodies into a perfume. So he kind of collects women's essence by killing them. But he kind of collects them to make it. But he wants his to be different and, unusual. So he goes for a 13th note, which, of course, has to be a 13th girl. And the girl he picks is Alan Rickman's daughter. Now, here's where the story gets really freaking weird, like it wasn't already.
Gets.
Yeah, but he can kind of like smell where she goes, and Alan Rickman has a dream that she had died, and so he's like adamant, we're getting you out of here. I knew the psycho was still out here and everything else. He wants you. Because when all these girls start coming up murdered, he leaves them naked and shaved in, places where people can find them. He was adamant that his daughter was going to be one of the ones that was killed. And so even after they think they've caught the guy, he's still like, no, he's out there and he's going to kill you. So he takes her away, like far away, ready to put her in a monastery, and this guy finds him. Well, where it ends, it doesn't end where it should have ended. She wakes up and she sees him there. That would have been a good ending, because at that point you don't know if he did it or if he didn't do it. But it kind of goes black, and then it comes to, yes, he did it. And instead of getting far, far away, he stops on the side of a road. Now, like I said, this is where it gets weird, to develop this perfume, this 13th note. And of course, Alan Rickman gets a hold of him and tortures him for a little while and everything else. And when they're getting ready to beat him for all of these women that he has murdered, he puts this perfume on. And a big orgy erupts. I wish I was kidding you, but I'm not. Everybody's so overcome by this smell, and he has to be innocent. And, like I said, of course, orgy all around him and everything else, and he's just kind of basking in all of this. And then Alan Rickman walks up, and you're thinking, yes, this is where they're going to get back on track, because he killed his daughter, his one and only prized possession, the only thing he had in this world. He's going to kill him. And he even tells him, you're not in my head like you are in everybody else's, till he gets closer. And then he's like, my son, you're innocent, and starts hugging him and kissing him and, begging for his forgiveness. So it's kind of like, wow, for one, I need some of this perfume. Really? But that's not where it ends. He decides that after doing all of this and getting the perfume and not really working in his craft, he decides that he'll never be anybody. So he puts this perfume all over his body and goes back to the pig hole that he was born in. And these people eat him. I'm not sure if they just smothered him so much with love that he just poofed, or they ate him. But yeah, they ate him in the perfume. So, like I said, the first part of the movie is absolutely amazing. It's, it's an interesting story, but when you get to the ending like that, it's kind of like, what the fuck? You made me watch this for that ending, and I was hoping, after all this craziness happened and everything else, he would wake up in his cell getting ready to go back out there to get beat. It was all a dream. This isn't happening, But it's asking a lot of your audience to think that a perfume, for one, would do all of that, but would carry a scent that far. We're talking, he's in the middle of a town square ready to be flogged, and, there's at least 500 people here. How did all those people smell that? You've got pigs and fish and everything else, yucky middle of town back in that day would be. And it's like they smelt that perfume. I, but I'll buy
It's
it.
just that good.
Yeah, for story's sake,
You're overthinking it.
I think that was probably part of it.
Really?
It's like, wow. I don't know. Like I said, the last 10 minutes, they could have shaved that off or just totally changed that. But the story was, like I said, it was good till that point. It seemed like everybody who came into contact with them, Dustin Hoffman was a perfumer, and he ran his own little store, and he worked for him for a little while. But when the guy left, like the building caved in on him. The woman who bought him from his mom, or no, who got him, I guess, because his mom ditched him in fish guts. But like as soon as she sold him, she drowned, and then he worked for a tanner, and as soon as he sold him, he like got killed, and so everyone who touched his life died, whether it was in a good way or a bad way, because I don't see what Dustin Hoffman did to him was bad. He took him out of a bad situation and kind of educated him. Yeah, he made a lot of money off of him, but when he got sick, he stayed by his side the whole time. Not because he was a money maker, but this is, I've been taking care of you. And so, yeah, I don't understand why they had to kill him, but it was just a weird movie.
Is this a musical?
No.
Oh.
No, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue in the movie. It was more narrated. I'm not quite sure who did the narration though, but it was more kind of narrated in parts to get the story along, but not a lot of speaking parts in this. It was a lot of watching, That sounded weird. Of course you're going to watch it. It's a movie, but
It sounds like you stumbled across an art film.
Maybe so. And for one, I couldn't believe, once it was recommended to me, of course I looked to see what it was, and I saw that Alan Rickman and Dustin Hoffman was in it. It was like, why? If this is kind of horror-ish, I mean, that ending was horrorish, I will say. But if it's on the horror genre, I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it. But then when I kind of watched it, it was like, okay, this is
not horror. This is some sort of avant-garde fantasy.
This isn't, yeah, it definitely, I mean, there was killing going on, of course, but they didn't really show you him killing them, and it wasn't like I don't know, I almost got like he hit him in the back of the head to kill him. He never had sex with him. It was just straight slather him in pig grease and scrape him clean. That sounded so gross. Yeah, that's
in a way, just your description of this, and I'm never going to watch this movie because I don't want to know for what it really is. This sounds like what would have happened if Terry Gilliam had made the movie Hannibal.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't eat them. He in perfume, like with roses and stuff, they're kind of, the oils are boiled out of them. Well, on things that don't contain oils, you have to put like a pig fat or something to kind of soak up the smell, or he used it for essence, but it was the smell of the person, so he was using the oil to collect that smell from them so he could transfer it to an oil. So, but yeah, he didn't eat them though.
Right. See, but with we're talking about, when you're talking about Hannibal Lecter, the thing you have to realize is that the actual cannibalism part is very much a side note.
Yeah.
It's those movies are not about cannibals. They're about this character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't get hung up on the cannibalism thing.
Yeah. And I forgot who the main guy was, but the murderer, he he did an amazing job. Like I said, I can't down the acting at all because I think it's kind of hard to have those two big names in a movie and it not be decent, you know, especially those two. But yeah, I mean they've done some yeah, but you know,
They've both done some stinkers
yeah.
along
They
the way.
both done stuff where they got the paycheck.
But
So.
for the most part, they've done a lot of good work, you know. And I would definitely say this is some of their better work. I was kind of surprised with Alan Rickman's part. Like I said, he had such a big part, but didn't say a lot. And it kind of reminded me of what was the knockoff of Five Nights at Freddy with Nicolas Cage?
Was it Willy's Wonderland?
Willy's Wonderland. It kind of reminded me of that when it was such a low budget film that the guy who actually wrote it was like, I was going to be the main character and I'm not an actor. You know? So I didn't write, you know, a lot in this because I didn't want to have to act. So when Nicolas Cage got a hold of it, he was kind of like, and I don't have to speak. Sold. But he did it, you know, so cheaply because I think they do a lot of indie stuff like that. But, you know, he wasn't speaking in it. So you don't have to pay me a lot because I'm not really, you know, I'm doing a lot. Of course, I'm not saying acting is nothing, but I don't have to speak or get the dialect right or
Right.
accent or anything else.
It's a
you know?
distinction that the Screen Actors Guild makes too. I mean, the pay scale is different for a non-speaking role.
Yeah.
And if Cage sees the script and likes it enough that he wants to do whatever he can to be in it, I could see him saying something like, "Yeah, you don't have to pay me as much because I'm not talking."
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the deal. He did it more because he liked the story of it than what he was getting paid for it.
Right, exactly.
And I kind of think with this one, that may have been Dustin Hoffman and Alan Rickman's thing too, because they didn't say a lot. Dustin Hoffman definitely said, you know, more than Alan Rickman did, but to have big roles, they didn't have a lot of conversations and things. So, which actually to me, I guess with my ADD and stuff, that kind of made it easier for me to follow. I didn't have to, you know, did I hear that right? Or, you know, they're not speaking. You're basically relying on, you know, what you see.
Right. You're experiencing the movie through your sight, not through having to think your way through the story because you're. Yeah.
But it wasn't something I had to overthink either, which I enjoyed.
Right.
So all in all, I would give it like an 8 out of 10, you know, just because of that ending. If you chop that ending off and make him get the flogging that he deserved, it'd be at, you know, at least a 9.5. So, but for that little twist they threw at the end and kind of messed with my head, I'm giving it an 8.
Which is funny because you keep saying that you like movies that mess with your head, and then you get a hold of one that actually does, and you're like, I don't know about this.
Well, to a certain degree, like when Jason Blum does it, when he twisted it, it is kind of a whoa, but you can understand it. You know, it's not like it was totally out of left field and people are having an orgy. You know? It's kind of a, you know, they did twist it on you, but you could go, okay, that makes sense. You know, that twist was kind of a what the hell, you know. And it's also one of those movies that once you get to the end, you don't realize that it's the end. There should be, I don't know, you took all this time to murder 12 women or 13 women to make a perfume and you never once worked at your craft? What the hell? Why did you have to kill all these women then? Just because you could? Or wanted to? I mean, that to me was like, no, there should have been more to this. You know, I don't know.
I think you're letting your, and I just keep throwing random criticisms in on this, like, because it's fun. I think you're mixing up your true crime YouTube obsession with just random movies at this point, because you don't movies. The thing with movies and stories in general is you don't have to explain everything.
No, but
mhm.
when you have that, in this case, the perfume was the key here. When you have that one key that you're really depending on a lot, I mean, you're asking a lot. I can accept that, okay, maybe half the crowd can smell this, but to find it, I don't know. It was like a mind eraser, and it's like it's a perfume, you know?
Right,
They,
and see, this is why I've used the word fantasy more than once in this. It's because this is clearly this is something that's happening inside somebody's head.
yeah,
And I say clearly, I still haven't seen the movie, but there's something there is a reality disconnect here, one way or another. And you're trying real hard to connect that disconnect.
yeah, and I guess with it being narrated too, you can say that it was more of like a legend being told.
Hmm.
So things do tend to get exaggerated and,
And
you
left
know,
out.
yeah, Jack and the Beanstalk kind of thing, you know, to where, oh, it was 100 foot when it was really just a corn stalk, you know. But
Right, a cornstalk and three
so
bone hits, and you've got a great story going, right?
yeah, so I could see where the exaggeration comes from, but I don't know, that twist was kind of it
It threw
twisted
you
a
off.
lot.
Right, it threw
Yeah.
you off. It threw you out of the movie somehow. And,
And
you know,
it
that
kind of makes
happens.
you uncomfortable because at that point
It,
you're like, well, this guy's going to get what he deserves, you know.
okay, note,
I don't.
note, note for the future. Liz is not into orgies. Okay, no problem. Move on, you know.
Yeah, we kind of figured it out.
Yeah, we'll just
I'm
check that
scratching
off the list.
Caligula off our list.
Yeah, we can't do that next year, man. We'll have to find something else.
Yeah,
Maybe we can do the black hole or something.
there you go.
Have we seen that?
Most of us have.
Most. Yeah, I like I said, if you like that kind of thing, I would definitely say watch it. Even if you don't, just for the kind of whoa, it does throw you there at the end. So
Well, and you said it was beautifully shot too. So that's a lot of
yes,
people. That's a lot of people are looking for that. So there you go.
yeah, and the time period that it was and stuff too. I always like movies set during that time. Just things were hard, but they were simpler, you know. But I kind of like it there because you can abandon some of the rules that you know, well, you can't do that today. Well, no, but you could back then. That's why they had the plague, but you could do it.
Mm.
So I like things like that. So other than that, it was just that end. Other than that, it was good.
So no emergency left turns for Liz. So I got to take Blazing Saddles off the list too.
Well, see, I liked Blazing Saddles. They set you up through all the movie for that. You know, you kind of knew what was happening, but no.
I kind of disagree, but that's okay.
If nothing else, there's one or two breaking the fourth wall moments that make it. So, I mean, I don't know that I would call it an active setup, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it at least makes it makes that reality disconnect a little less disconnected.
Yeah.
I remember watching that one time with my parents, and at that scene where it starts pulling back and you see it's the actual studio. My mom goes, "Okay, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on here." It's like, that's okay. It's all right.
You're not
That's
supposed to.
part of the fun, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Different kind of film. Like I said, I liked it. And then I tore my computer apart. But real quick,
Okay.
have you guys heard about I think it was called the Ape Fest, the Bored Ape Fest. It's where a bunch of guys who bought NFTs and girls, I'm not just lumping guys, they bought NFTs from a place called Bored Ape. And you know all the stuff about NFTs and everything else. The cheapest one you can buy was $10,000. And when you buy one of these, it gave you a ticket to like their event that they have, like you're a ticket holder. So big turd fest. But one of the biggest things that they did is to be edgy and cool and get like all this really cool lighting effects and stuff. They used UV lights. I mean, I use a UV light on my nails when I'm fingernail polishing, and you only can put your hand under it for like 60 seconds max. You know, any longer than that, you can burn your cuticles.
Sunburn,
you know,
right?
yeah, it's not good. You know, well, they decided to use these on their stage and in their bathrooms and like all around, kind of like black lights. So they had people going to the hospital with like severe burned eyes and like sunburn.
And other places that shouldn't
Yeah.
see the light of day, right?
You know, it's like, Jesus Christ. And of course, you know, when it comes out, you know, people are kind of like, hey, is anybody else experiencing this? You know? I shouldn't be laughing. I'm so sorry to these people because it is a lot of pain, because imagine staring at the sun for like an hour. You know, don't blink, just stare for an hour. And that's kind of what these people are experiencing in their eyes and things. It's going to take like antibiotics
There's
and
a lot
eye
of damage
drops
that can
and
happen there, sure.
yeah, if not blindness for
Right.
people who ignore it.
Real
you know,
damage. Sure.
it's
Oh, yeah.
like,
Well, I
Jesus
mean,
Christ.
Just because some jackass didn't know the difference between a UV light and a black light?
Yeah, well, I don't think they. Okay, because it gets worse. The UV lights was what was used like out in the main population. Now, remember, I said they were in the bathroom too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? These idiots decided, hey, you know what's a good idea where everybody's peeing and holding their pee-pee in their hands? Let's put disinfecting UV lights in the bathroom.
Wow.
So,
well, I mean,
super clean wiener, but it's going to be burned.
you're talking about people who are involved with NFTs. So I mean,
Yeah, and see, and that's kind of what gets me about all of this too. Like I said, the cheapest NFT you could buy was $10,000. So this is like, should have been like a country club kind of experience with the people that you're dealing with here. It wasn't like me going to a concert or something. You know, this would be like Elon Musk going to a private concert. You know, that's the level that this place should have been at. And you can't even get the correct lighting, you know, but you want me to believe you know everything digital.
I remember when NFTs started really kind of taking off and all that, and I remember seeing a discussion. I think it was on Twitter, and one of these geniuses has bought one. He's like, well, this is my own. No one else can have it. And after he tweeted that, the next 10 or 20 responses has that image in their in the response, or their avatars, that image. It's like, yeah, okay, that just shows you how stupid it is.
It is. Now, kind of my second job's kind of like an NFT, because I make digital property that people pay money for. I've never considered it really secure, because if the game ever shut down, that's gone. There's not,
Right.
it's not
all
me,
just
because
pixels.
yeah, I have money in my PayPal from all of this, but you know, those people who have bought these things, it's gone. And there's nothing you can do about it because it's in their terms of service and everything else. So, they invest this real money into, like Mikey said, pixels and, I mean, thank you to everyone who does. I'm not knocking that, but
so here's the deal. There is, I mean, generally speaking, and people are going to have a different perception of this across the board. Mm-hmm. But if you're paying for if you're paying for a game, you're paying for the entertainment that game provides you.
Yes.
If you're buying something if you're giving money to a third party for something, to have something special and all your own inside that game, you're still paying for an entertainment value. Yeah. It's not that you're just throwing your money away. So even if the game shuts down, they got the entertainment out of that thing that they had in the game for as long as they had it.
That is true. Because unlike an NFT, the things that I make, people use to change their makeup with, or their outfit, or set on, or plant a tree, So they are getting some kind of, they use it with an NFT. What do you do with an NFT? Make it your profile picture? What do you do with that? To me, that's crazy. And like I said, that's coming from someone who I ask people to do that daily. But, I don't get the NFT thing. I didn't get the Bitcoin thing either. So, am I getting old? But part of why I started building and making though is because I thought it was crazy to pay money for that kind of thing. So it's like I could make this and then I don't have to buy it.
Right, but that's because you have a skill set.
Yeah.
Not everybody else does. And so to have something like that, because you're demonstrating it in the game or whatever, anytime you pull one of those things out when there's somebody nearby and they see it and they're like, ooh, I want that. That looks cool, but I don't have the skills. So what do I have? I have $10 or whatever. I don't know what you charge, but
yeah,
I have X amount of dollars that I'm willing to spend on the game because I enjoy it, and that would improve my enjoyment by X%.
$10,000?
Dude, I don't have any idea. But
I mean, I would be like making universes for $10,000.
You could make your own whole game.
But then it's kind of crazy too when you think about, for $10,000 these people paid to go get sunburns.
Well, I mean, that wasn't really their intent, but
the best part is, I'm reading all this stuff of, oh my God, I was in the emergency room and da 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 da, and that the people who put this on finally spoke out, which of course, deny, limit your responsibility. Mm-hmm. And they're like, only 1% of people, were affected by this, which is kind of bullshit when you read just the amount of messages that I've seen, and I'm not part of their community, mm-hmm. And they said that there was one corner that they used it in, and in the bathrooms, but they're saying that it was regular lighting on the stage. But there's so many people who were like, no, I never went to the men's bathroom. And I wasn't in that corner, and I'm sitting here in the emergency room. So they're going to definitely have to look at it a little harder. And I hope the extent of damage is just people on some antibiotics today. I would really hate that someone got hurt because someone didn't know the difference between UV and incandescent.
Now here's my question. When the inevitable lawsuits come, are they going to have to pay back in Bitcoin, or are they going to actually pay in physical cash?
Right. Let me draw you a monkey. There you go. We'll settle out of court.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And like I said, some of these people though who were talking, if now someone like me, who, I have a problem with my eyes, if something like that happened to me, I'd be suing the hell out of somebody. And, oh, buddy, you're going to be paying big. But some of these people, like I said, have to be on antibiotics right now. And how many guys, I hate to do this, but there's so many guys that are like, oh, I'm tough. It's just a little sunburn. And the next day you wake up and you
that's a
can't
documented
see.
fact. You don't have to feel bad about saying that.
So I do believe there's a lot of people who won't say anything because, who's going to admit they were wrong in buying a $10,000 NFT? But, just for,
Believe me, they're not going to think about that.
yeah, I'm
Right. They
I'm
bought
tough,
into
I'm
it. They
all
bought
right,
into it.
you know.
It's that
Yeah.
whole thing was a almost cult-like thing to begin
Yeah.
with. So they didn't have anything to do. I mean, they were talking about your reality disconnects. But anyway.
And if the lawsuits do come, it may kind of collapse the whole monkey thing, So what was that anarchist thing, the Bitcoin thing? And it kind of collapsed on itself too. So I think with anything, you give it enough rope and eventually it'll hang itself,
Mm.
So yeah, like I said, I just thought that was crazy. And I'm looking at my little nail light going, these were hanging on the walls like 20-foot lights,
Mhm.
like tanning bed lights, you know?
Yeah, basically.
Liz,
Yeah.
you describing the film,
Mhm.
I am not ever going to make fun of Love Potion number 9 again. Because when you see the girl being followed by hordes of men because she put on too much of the Love Potion number 9, that's what first came to my mind when you said that it's not possible to have that many people affected. And I'm going to say no. According to this movie, it sure as hell did.
But didn't she use a lot?
Oh, she slugged it down. She decided if one touch will give me this much response, then I'm sure I can load it up and be the best thing around.
See, he put 2 drops of perfume on. And then when he threw a handkerchief out to the crowd, he dipped it over on the bottle, and that's it. So I would say a drop on the handkerchief that he threw out in the crowd. So 3 drops. So I could see a large, maybe if he made it in the middle of town in a big old vat, but 3 drops of perfume. And then at the end, when they ate him, I think, that was the whole bottle, though. Which still wasn't a huge bottle, but... 3 drops.
Thank you for bringing the film back into the conversation. Much appreciated.
Sure, happy to.
Yeah.
Oh.
But now I'm going to have to go watch Love Potion number 9 again.
Oh, damn.
I closed my eyes. I took a drink.
Right, you could just listen to the song. It's a lot quicker.
Yeah, there we go.
And a lot better.
I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not going to judge.
I had neither. I'm just assuming.
Naysayers.
No, not us.
Okay, Mikey. Please.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't have much.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Oh, man. Fortunately, I don't have much either. but not in the Liz sense. Liz doesn't have much, but that doesn't stop her from going on and on about it at times. But anyway, I honestly, this has kind of been a drag of a week. So the one thing I did, which honestly I surprised myself with, and it's a totally mundane thing, and I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I was not even sure what I was particularly doing on YouTube. I guess basically if you're on YouTube, you're technically doing just a whole lot of nothing anyway. But I just randomly clicked on what turned out to be I guess the thing about it was that it was like a 4K restoration of a concert film that was a Pink Floyd concert from, I think it said 1988. So it was from the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. And it has just sort of, I don't know, I haven't even gotten all the way through it yet because, you know me, I don't watch stuff all the way through. And it's because it's like almost 2 hours long. And it's probably as much the light show as anything else in this thing. I mean, the music is, it's what you would expect from a 1988 Pink Floyd concert. This was the point where they were trying like hell to forget Roger Waters. So they were focusing on what they were doing at the time, very much so, and not really going back into the back catalog a ton. So it's all basically new stuff that they're playing, and I mean, if you know anything about Pink Floyd, that stuff, like I said, they had gotten rid of Roger Waters at that point, and honestly, at that point, they were still fighting him in the courts. So they hadn't really gotten rid of him, but they were doing everything they could to stop being influenced by him, because he slowly took over the band, and not necessarily in a good way. I mean, a lot of some of their best work came from that time period that Waters was doing that, but it wasn't gonna sustain itself. So it's been really interesting, kind of watching this concert, and it's like I said, I think it's a 4K restoration, so it's visually beautiful, kind of like Liz's movie. Not to go back to that, but
Too late.
And so, but on top of that, the music is also interesting, and
Is it their music or?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, it's like I said, it's an actual concert film.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I'm
So
sorry.
it's and I mean I guess if there was a lasting legacy even at this point from the Roger Waters era of Pink Floyd, it was that the stage show was elaborate as hell. They did not, that part of that influence they did not get rid of. So there's this, and it's just this wild ass light show, which is really kind of cool to watch. And then, like I said, the relatively mellow at this point Pink Floyd music from that time period, it's pretty in a sort of, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word weird way. It's definitely different, and it's definitely Pink Floyd, but it's an interesting throwback to kind of the psychedelic days to an extent, although kind of with better musicianship because they'd been practicing for 20 years at that point.
Not doing LSD.
And not being completely out of their minds on LSD, right? I mean, that was mostly Syd Barrett, but still.
True.
Yeah.
But
It
still.
wasn't all still Syd Barrett.
But they have always told an amazing story, whether visually or through their songs, you know.
Right. And Yeah, I mean the deal with the Waters era was that story progressively got kind of more and more aggressive, and that was a clean break when they basically fired Roger Waters. Um, they just like flipped that off like a switch and went back to what they were doing in the early 70s, which is a
Yeah.
lot more ethereal and a lot more um, mellow in its own way. And yeah, they're an interesting band kind of as a whole. If you take their entire body of work together, it again like you said, tells an interesting story. With the little stories it tells along the way and kind of how that whole thing played itself out, how their history their history is an interesting story by itself. There are dozens of documentaries out there about it, and I might have to go try to find one in the near future just to sort of get that back inside my head. Some of them are great and some of them are not, but
Yeah.
there's a ton of them, so it might be fun.
And what was this on?
This is on YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'll try to scrounge up a link for it.
Sure.
Cool. I'd like to watch that.
It's funny because I've seen a lot more Pink Floyd videos on my suggestion list, and it's like, okay, I went back and was like, okay, what did I watch that caused that to happen? And it was a video. Tom Schultz from Boston.
Yeah.
It was just this little. It was just like this little thing. It was on it's like a Boston fan club channel, and it was him in his basement, and he's showing off all of his toys, which, if you don't know his story, it's so freaking incredible. There is one foot pedal I would love to have if I was ever playing guitar again. I would love to have. It's the one that makes all the rocket sounds. But there's only two in existence, and he has both of them.
Right, he basically made them.
Wow.
Right, yeah, he made them. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an engineer of some sort, if I remember right, and he created all of that stuff. Yeah, if you ever want to hear like the epitome of the stuff that he could do,
Okay, yeah.
their album Third Stage
Yes.
is what you want to listen to. It's not really a great album, but the sound design on it is just unbelievable.
He does everything. He
Yeah.
does everything on it. He was a graduate from MIT, and he was actually working for Polaroid when he was putting together the basement and tried to record the first album. And he usually does everything. That's why it takes forever for an album to come out, because he's a perfectionist. He wants his sound.
Right. He knows what he wants, and it unfortunately requires a shitload of work to get it.
Right.
And it's why if you've ever watched a live show, like here we go back to YouTube, go back and find a Boston concert. They're really not that good.
Yeah.
They weren't that great live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
because he
watched
couldn't
that.
control-
Renzer was
because-
the same way.
Because he couldn't control everything. Who was the same way?
Trent Renzer from Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah.
If you go and watch a live show for him, you see people like constantly coming on and off stage, to different instruments and things. And when you stop and think about it, you're like, wow, it takes that many people to do what he does alone in a studio.
Yeah, it's basically the same
Yep.
concept.
Mhm.
So
But
yeah,
because-
basically you got the Pink Floyd ref because you clicked on something that had something to do with 70s rock. Because
Well,
that's
so
how I
it's-
got to it too.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not just Pink Floyd. I mean, I saw Peter Frampton, a bunch of Kiss stuff. It's just like, wow, that one video did just open the floodgates.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny how that algorithm works. But I'm not complaining, because I'm going to go back and
sometimes it works well too, and sometimes it doesn't.
works real well.
But,
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to look that up.
God, I hadn't listened to Pink Floyd in forever.
Yeah, I kind of hadn't. That's probably why I ended up clicking on it, is because I was like, oh, I haven't. And
Yeah.
I could see the year on it, so it was like, I haven't listened to that stuff in a while, for specifically. So yeah, and it's interesting
I
stuff.
I can't tell you the last time I listened to The Wall. It's probably been at least a decade.
Oh
Yeah.
God, I love The Wall. I listen to that every so often just for fun.
Yeah. So I keep Pink Floyd and The Doors constantly in my playlist. Always one or two of theirs. I like the longer ones, which is pretty much all of Pink Floyd, but like Riders on the Storm and stuff for The Doors.
Hmm.
Just the longer musical ones.
Yep. I mean, most of them are just jam sessions at some point. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's kind of all I got. Like I said, my life has been boring.
It's pretty cool though.
God, I'm gonna have I'm gonna have to listen to Pink Floyd tonight when we get through.
Right.
Okay.
So they're thinking, what's on my playlist tonight?
Oh, one of my favorite is essentially their last album, The Division Bell. I love that album, and that's probably what I'll go to.
There you go.
Cool.
I know they Gilmore had to put out another album since then, which was basically the stuff that did not make it to the Division Bell. So it's almost like it's going to be a double album. I have not listened to that. I know it's out. I just haven't checked it out. I may need to do that too.
Well, and they also put out well, let's call it an album, which was basically a tribute to Rick Wright when he died. It was a bunch of the stuff that he had kind of recorded. They went back and kind of added more stuff to that and released it. I believe it's called The Endless River. It is listening to that is an experience. It is really long, and it's not what you would consider it. I mean, to call it rock would be a stretch. I'm not quite sure what you would call it. It's mostly instrumental, and it's mostly keyboard. But yeah, it's interesting, but it's not something I would go back to a lot. But it was an interesting tribute too.
That may be Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I was thinking it was the Endless River. That's what I was thinking of. I thought it was just a continuation of the Division Bell because the phrase "the Endless River" is actually in the song "The Division Bell."
Yeah, I mean, and I think some of it probably kind of came from those sessions, but I don't think that was the extent of it.
Right.
I think there's more to it than that.
I'm sure you're right. I just that's where I was getting confused. I thought it was just I thought it didn't make it onto the other album, and so okay.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, it's worth listening to once, but it's I mean, to go into it thinking you're going to hear a Pink Floyd album, you're probably going to be disappointed. Even though it kind of is a Pink Floyd album. But I mean, if nothing else, in their history, they've done a lot of things that kind of stretched their own skill and writing and all of that. So, yeah. Why not?
Gilmore said, unapologetically, this is for the generation that wants to put its headphones on, lie in a beanbag or whatever, and get off on a piece of music for an extended period of time. You could say it's not for the iTunes downloading individual tracks generation.
Yeah, I think that it was one of those things that's also kind of post CD, because my recollection is that it was. I don't remember off the top of my head how long it is. It's longer than you can fit on a CD.
Right.
But I'm hesitant to guess at a length because it kind of seemed longer than it was. But anyway. Anyway, yeah, Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
All right, Les.
I was a person that I went to two movies this past week.
Oh, wow.
First one was the day my wife was holding her hen party, and I decided I'm not sticking around here. I'm going to go to the movies.
Now, what does she think of you calling it her hen party?
She doesn't mind.
Okay.
She understands, because she looked at me and said, "You're leaving?" I said, "Would you stay for the hen party?" She said, "No, see ya."
Have fun.
So I went to see The Holdovers, the new movie with Paul Giamatti, about a member of the all-boys school who gets saddled with sitting at holiday time, having to see over the few boys that are left at the yeah, thank you.
Like a dormitory or something?
Yeah,
Boarding
thank
school.
you. That's it, boarding school. It's kind of talked about as being a comedy. I didn't see it that way. I thought it was more a story of people learning to live together. I thought it was really good. I thought it was well done.
Like a Breakfast Club kind of thing, or?
A little more. This was in 1970 is when the story takes place. And you have the head guy who is saddled with the misfits, and there are 5 of them to begin. Then all of a sudden, one of the fathers comes in and he takes 4 of them away to go skiing. The last one can't go because he has not received a permit to do so. So he's saddled. He's just going to have to wait out the 2 weeks. This is fun though. This is an interesting movie, and I recommend it. But if you're cold-natured, if you don't like the cold, don't go see this movie. Because it has so many scenes of snow. Snow on the ground, snow falling. I'm sure my wife would want to leave because it was too cold in the theater. And it could be 75 degrees in there and she would still want out. But I thought it was really well done. And it made you think. So to me, it was a plus.
It's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna chime in there. It's funny that you mentioned that. One of the memories that's kind of popped in my head a lot here recently was back in 1980, which we here in the North Texas area we had it. Probably was one of our worst summers, being so hot and all that. And I remember being in line. This was May, so we hadn't seen anything yet. in line to see Empire Strikes Back. It was hot then. And then you get into the theater, and then the first 20 minutes of the film, you're on an ice planet. Boy, that made a world of difference. So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. That's what this was.
I just watched Paul Giamatti in Fred Claus. He was Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Fred's brother.
Yep.
So I'm sorry about that. Let's go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was going to say the other film I went to see was one that my wife definitely turned her nose up at. She knows I am a big fan of Jimmy Stewart. And it is that time of year. So here come the showings of It's a Wonderful Life, which is a fine movie. Capra did a hell of a job for that. But that's not what I went to see.
No?
My wife thought. Well, my wife thought that that's what I was going to go see, and she made the mention that I should invite some friends of ours because she doesn't believe they've seen it. And I looked at her and I said, "Honey, I haven't seen this movie." And she said, "You've seen It's a Wonderful Life?" I said, "No, dear. This is the movie It's a Wonderful Knife," which is a comedy horror movie with Justin Long and Joel McHale.
I want to see this one.
This has got everything. This has, yes, it has references to It's a Wonderful Life. It has references to various genres. Because you have a slasher movie. You have kind of time travel.
You got Mike interested.
I thought so. I thought that would just make him think, I gotta go see this too.
Sold.
It's going to push me right over the edge.
But it was fun. There were a couple of actors in it I didn't know, but that didn't bother me.
It bothers them.
Kinda.
You
But-
don't know me?
If you get the chance, yeah, take this one in too, because it touched on most everything you could, and the references to It's a Wonderful Life are just so great. So try this one out.
Cool.
I'll have to watch that one.
Interesting.
Did you watch Violet Night? I think it came out last year.
I thought Violent Night was my new Christmas movie. I thought that was so much fun.
It was a lot of, what was it, David Harbour in it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
I loved that one. Is this one comparable?
It has a slasher. So,
That's right.
yeah.
And a Christmas theme. Oh, I'll have to watch that one.
And when
Because
she's-
that's my new Christmas movie is Violent Night.
when she says, "I should never have been born," I went, okay, I know where this is going. So,
She's either going to
Yeah.
wake up looking like her mother or she's going to wake up in a different life.
I thought it might have become something like Final Girl in that respect.
Yeah.
But
Freaky
luckily
Friday.
it
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
I had to go watch that one.
when you do, let me know what you think.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. First off, Mikey, the deluxe edition of The Endless River, 92 minutes and 26 seconds.
Yeah.
Is that all?
The regular is 5302. So there you go.
I think I must have heard the deluxe edition somehow.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the deluxe edition's like on Spotify and all that.
Probably.
I can see them putting the deluxe edition out there instead of the regular. So there you go. Your question's been answered.
Yay.
Almost 92 and a half minutes long. For me, I've been spending a lot of time on YouTube, continuing watching the scammer that I talked about last week. But I stumbled across, once again, that algorithm. I saw one of the suggestions was the 4th episode of the old Green Hornet series from 1966 with Van Williams and Bruce Lee. And the channel happens to have all 26 episodes. So I watched all 26 episodes. which, it sounds like a lot, but I mean, the running time was anywhere between 22 to 24 minutes.
Right, it was a half-hour show.
Yeah.
It was a half-hour
It's
show.
not that bad,
So
right.
it's not that bad. I have never really watched. I've seen bits and pieces. I think there was like a movie where they basically took 2 or 3 episodes and just haphazardly put them together with nothing really kind of making sense on why these kind of fell in the way they did. So I've seen that much before. So this is really my first time actually watched them on a episode basis. It was a good show. The stories were pretty good. The acting was really good. Of course, this is the same people who did Batman, so you got William Dozier being the narrator, and the music's, I thought, a good show. It only lasted once. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why? Why did they do that? Is it because they handled everything straightforward? I don't think that was it. And I think it dawned on me within the last day or so what I think the problem was, as opposed to Batman. Colorful villains. Green Hornet. First of all, Green Hornet was considered a villain, even though he was working in the underworld, trying to do everything from within, as opposed to Batman. But there was like no colorful, entertaining villains for him to battle. These were all just regular gangsters or just criminals, that kind of thing. I wonder if that could be part of it, because that was a major pull for the Batman show, is having these very colorful villains played with tongue very firmly in cheek, and it was just that's really what kind of made the show. And no knock on Adam West and Burt Ward, they were great too, but I think it was the villains, and Green Hornet just didn't have that. I wonder if that was the problem, why it didn't keep on going, because I don't see what else it could have been.
Yeah.
Les, did you watch it when it was on, or did you watch the reruns, or what?
Did I watch the Green Hornet or?
Yes.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay. What did you think about what I was saying? that it wasn't successful because it just didn't have the colorful villains that would bring people in. Because I don't know what else it could have been. I thought the stories were very well done, the acting, the look of it, the music. I think it was all well done. I don't see why it was not more popular.
I think you named it. I think because it did not have the cast of villains that was shown on Batman, that it faltered. You didn't get a chance to go, oh, look, they've got Two-Face on today, or they've got the Joker on, or something like that. Something that would press
draw your attention.
And my knowledge on Green Hornet is rather limited, but I don't think he's really ever had a rogues gallery. It's always been just regular street level criminals.
Yes, that's true.
Or organizations, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. So it becomes just a crime show.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the over the top nature of the 66 Batman.
Yeah.
So
and how successful it's going to be as a crime show can vary wildly.
Yeah. The thing that got on my nerves doing this binging is the character Mike Axford. That shit got old pretty quick. And for those who've not watched the show, he is the crime reporter for the Daily Sentinel, which is owned by Brett Reed, who's also a Green Hornet. And Mike Axford has a big heart on for Green Hornet. He's just we gotta get rid of him, and why aren't the police doing anything about trying to shut him down, this, that, and the other. Binge watching this show and having that going on for 2 or 3 hours back to back to back to back makes me want to grab a bat and beat the shit out of him. It got so old so quick. But I understand why they were doing it. But they were trying to reinforce the whole thing that the city considered him a criminal, even though he would do something like save someone's life or rescue somebody or that type of thing. He always did something good at one point. But that gets totally blown over by the fact that, hey, he's a criminal.
Right.
He's wearing a mask. What the hell is he doing?
He's at best a vigilante, and vigilantes are dangerous.
Right. So.
Yep.
Other than that, I would definitely, if you've not, I would check it out because it's a good watch.
Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you brought that forward.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I'm glad I found it. Like I said, it was totally. I'm not even sure how that showed up on my logarithms, but whatever. And something I meant to bring up last week. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up this week. I had actually kind of got back into watching some of the Match Game reruns again. I'm still yelling at Brett because that whole shit just still gets on my nerves, but I'm doing better. But they did a marathon one Saturday in tribute to Richard Mall, who recently passed away. And I was like, well, I don't remember him being on Match Game because it was pretty much off by the time Night Court started up. Well, he was on the Match Game Hollywood Squares hour, which was a show that lasted maybe a year, around a year or so. And I had never seen this before, so I was just as curious about how they handled this as opposed, has anybody else seen the Match Game Hollywood Squares hour?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, this was on back in 83, 84, and local time it was on it too. So I was in school, Mike was in school, and all that when that was going on. But here's the thing. It was hosted by Gene Rayburn. They brought him back to do this, but they also brought in John Bonham. I forgot how to pronounce his name. He's a guy you're not going to know. He's best known for being Bowser from the rock a cappella group Sha Na Na, which you probably don't know that group either, so that's a pointless thing, but that's fine. They were big in the 70s. They were big in the 70s when the 70s was nothing but pining for the 50s. Well, I mean, am I wrong?
No, not at all.
I mean, you got that. You had American Graffiti and Happy Days and all that. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, what happened is they both came out. John would actually join the panel of 6, and they would play match game. And they would have like 3 rounds where you have 2 contestants trying to match as many of the celebrities as they could. And whoever wins the right to play against the returning champion in playing Hollywood Squares. And at that point, John would trade places with Gene, and Gene would actually be part of the panel. And the thing that was really cool is, like I said, they've got the panel of 6. They would bring in another thing so they can actually get the celebrities at the 9, so they can actually play Hollywood Squares. That was kind of cool to see that. So they do that. So they're playing Hollywood Squares, and then whoever wins that wins the right to go do the super match. So we're back to match game. Do the super match, and then do the 1-on-1, which if you're lucky, you could possibly win $30,000. This is back in '83. $30,000 would have been a nice chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would have.
I liked the concept. It worked real well. I don't think that much about John as the host. He did okay. But I liked it. I really liked it. It was a really cool way to kind of put those two together, and I thought it worked. But it didn't really take off. It only, like I said, it only lasted about a year. But I'm who knows?
I thought it was a good attempt because after the last time Hollywood Squares was on, was when Whoopi Goldberg was the main person.
Oh yeah, but that happened. I think that happened after this version. So basically, it's not been good since then. Because you had the Whoopi Goldberg version, and then you got to where J.J. Bullock was the attraction, and all that. So yeah, but it's funny because you know me, I always gotta look up this kind of stuff when I get kind of hooked on something. So I did about this. Peter Marshall, who hosted the original Hollywood Squares, was upset that they didn't even approach him to do the match game Hollywood Squares hour, which I wish they had. I don't know if it would have been an improvement, but I don't know if it would have it would have lasted any longer than it did. But at one time, he admitted that he was happy that it failed, and that he's later since recanted that. He said he didn't say that. However, when he's talked about the versions that have come since he was the host, he would talk glowingly about all the hosts except for John. He wouldn't mention John, but he'll talk about John Davidson. There was a version with John Davidson was the host, and of course Tom. Tom. Is it Bergeron?
Bergeron.
Yeah, Bergeron. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. There was that, and I think there was a couple of others, but he talked glowingly about them, but he didn't mention John Baum at all. I'm like,
Interesting.
Yeah. So, And yes, those are on YouTube as well. You can see some of the individual episodes. I think Buzzer's channel has a bunch of them too. So if you're interested, check that out. It was an interesting concept. I thought I liked it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get into this week's discussion. Which, hey, talk about
Foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
Timing.
Timing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our last casting call for the year. And do you know how many of these we have done on the show?
No.
Anyone want to guess?
Total or this year?
Total.
Is this number 50?
Let me
No,
say
we're close. But
Number 4.
We usually do 6.
45.
We usually do 6 a year.
this is going to be number 37.
Huh, okay. Nice round number.
That's how old I am.
Uh-huh. Need to work on that calculator of yours. It's not working quite right.
It's because the calculator was she dropped it into the Slurpee. So
That was a low blow.
Oh man,
Oh,
that would hurt.
that one was cold, man. That was cold.
Stay tuned for the story.
Is it really cold?
Anyway, for those, this is their first chance of checking this out. And, we do a casting call, like Mike said. We do about 6 a year, every other month. And I come up with the idea of most of them have been comic book based, either been something established as an existing TV show or a movie, and we extend it, or it may be something that I just created just for the option to do a cast. Our last one we just did, if the movie Halloween had actually been filmed and released in 1968 instead of 1978. So this one's a little different this time. This is actually kind of in honor of the announcement that Pat Sajak is going to be retiring after this season. This happens to be Pat Sajak's 41st season on the show as a host. And honestly, it's it doesn't matter what you think of him, because I'm not a big fan of him, but it's the end of an era. The Pat Sajak, especially Alex Trebek, losing him a few years back, you just don't have game show hosts that stay for a very, very long time. A lot of it's because the shows don't stay around.
Well, that's because networks use them for filler, but whatever.
Yeah, they're handling them as filler now. Other than Wheel of Fortune, because that's still been on.
Right.
And Jeopardy.
Jeopardy too, but
yeah.
Other than that, they only pull them out when they have writer's strikes.
Writer's strikes, or it's summer and they don't really want to do anything else. So I kind of thought, okay, let's take some classic game shows. Some are older than others, and let's see what we can do about trying to get a new host for them. And I've told the guys this a couple of times when I kind of hinted at what we were going to do. This is one of the more challenging casting calls I've done, because it's with the rest of them, it's okay. You got a character, so you have an idea what the character is. So you figured, hey, which actor is going to best be able to portray that? That's not the case here. You've got someone who's being a game show host.
Personality. So,
yeah. So it's a little different this time. So let's go ahead and get into this. This could be very fun.
It could also be very crazy, but
it can be very crazy. It can be very
Us? Hi.
So, who would like to go first?
I'll kick us off.
Okay.
First one we have is Deal or No Deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was a game where you had to try your luck at finding $1 million in briefcases. And each time, you could lose money or get higher, or it was a game of luck. Howie Mandel did it. Wasn't there also a UK version?
Yeah.
I think there was a UK version. But this is where Meghan Markle got her start. Ooh, you go, girl. I decided to go. When I think of Howie, he was kind of funny, but he was also personable.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with a funny guy, and I went with Ricky Jarvis.
Okay.
Just kind of funny, but could also, he could be nice, but he could also deliver that blow of, "Aw, dumbass." He should have stopped.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to kind of go that route, but yeah. I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, yeah.
I'd watch it.
Well, yeah, and there'll be a lot of people because they're going to want to say they're going to want to see or hear what kind of insult he's going to throw at them when they screw up.
Especially when the banker calls.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean that's
kind of like that. What was that one girl? Goodbye.
Yeah, that was, what was that show?
Weakest Link.
Yes, Weakest Link.
Yeah. Like her. She cut you to the bone.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good choice. I like that.
Sure.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
Oh, I usually go next.
Okay, well, you go next.
Okay, so as a precursor, I wasn't kidding when I said crazy earlier.
You hadn't heard mine, so
I didn't go into this analytically. I went into this just, I mean, in almost a silly mood, and was like, okay, let's just see what kind of weird connections my brain can come up with.
Okay.
So I didn't go back and look up what these shows were like. I vaguely remember most of them from the olden days and from reruns. So I kind of winged it a little bit.
I did on some too.
And my choice for Deal or No Deal will make more sense later with a different pick.
Okay.
But I'm going to throw it out here anyway because this was not one that I got into. This was not a game show that I cared at all about, really.
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch it too much.
Basically, everything hinges on yes/no decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So my brain went to kind of one of the more famous people that's known for their yes/no decisions. Flip of a coin, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Aaron Eckhart for this.
Okay.
Primarily because of his role in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies as Two-Face.
Right.
Now, whether he dresses up as Two-Face to do this, I kind of doubt, but that's where the connection came from. Also, he'd probably be a pretty good game show host.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you would.
Cool. Okay, Les.
I could even see him saying that to Batman. Deal or no deal?
No deal.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
For me, I went back to a person that I have seen do shows similar to this, and that is Fred Savage.
Ah,
Okay.
the Wonder Years boy.
He's grown up.
He has.
Isn't he running for public office?
Is he?
I think so.
Oh, wow. He's really grown up.
Uh-huh.
He's not getting his grandpa to read him a story, that's for damn sure.
Mm.
He is a grandpa read this story.
Yeah.
Maybe.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I came upon this because the name just popped, and then I started visioning him doing it, and I thought he would be okay doing it, but I really don't know where it came from, but it could be fun. I went with Ted Danson.
Okay.
I see that.
Hmm.
He's got the game show host smile.
Mhm.
See, now he's the one that if you had put the weakest link on here, I might have picked him for that. But then again, I really liked the show he did called Becker.
Yes,
Yeah.
Becker was fun.
Becker
That
was.
was a fun.
And he was a crotchety SOB in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, cool.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's next, Liz?
All right. The next one we have is Hollywood Squares.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And it says that, okay, this was a game show where we had celebrities set up like in a tic-tac-toe board, and contestants had to answer questions and try to make the, 3 in a row somehow. I remember it with the guy we were just talking about, Tom
Bergeron.
Bergeron. And this can sound crazy, but when I first started watching Chopped, the host they have on there almost looks like he could be his son. So I chose Ted Allen for this one. Just
Okay.
he's funny. He looks like the original.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good.
He
He's
is.
done some other stuff too, but yeah, that's where he kind of got known. And yeah, he's good. He's
He's
pretty
a good
good at
host.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, Mikey.
it. Okay. So for Hollywood Squares, my memory of that show in the various incarnations that I've seen was usually revolved around the guest folks, the people in the tic-tac-toe board,
Mm-hmm.
generally at some point getting out of control, and there just being a lot of random silliness going on. And so I decided that my Hollywood Squares needed someone who could keep that shit in check. They needed somebody tough who could also actually have flashes of personality from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
We go with it.
Yeah, who could go with it or shut it down as she saw fit. I chose Michelle Rodriguez for this.
Ooh. Okay.
I like it.
Mainly, not necessarily because of any role I've seen her play, more because of times I've seen her show up in documentaries and kind of getting to see the real person behind the tough badass roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where my brain went.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
I do too.
Very cool. Alrighty, Les.
For me, I went with a person that competes, and I went with Dwayne Johnson.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Very interesting choice.
Yep.
And if you're interested, I do have 9 people picked out.
Oh wow.
But we'll go ahead. I'll cover that later.
Okay. For me, when I was thinking of this, I was thinking of someone who is one of the squares. I mean, who can kid around with them, but as Mike said, you need someone also who can shut it down. And I think he can do it, but I think he can also be very entertaining and be very good with the contestants, which is an important thing too. Mr. Don No Soul Simpson himself, David Alan Grier.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, why not?
Absolutely. He's a funny dude.
He is. Okay, next, Liz.
All right. Our next game is the match game. This is where contestants had to fill in the blank. Sometimes it was a Mad Libs kind of thing, because you had one that sounded right but was a little off, and then you had a correct answer, and it was the contestant's job to find who was telling the truth, I guess. And this one because oftentimes the answers, sometimes they'd be a little risque or, a little quirky and funny. So I wanted to keep someone who could be funny, but was also used to being with people and keeping them comfortable and talking and everything else. So I first went talk show host. Has to be funny. So I went with Jimmy Fallon on this one. ADD brain, follow me here.
No. I could that would be interesting. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think he's funny.
Okay.
Okay, Mikey.
All right. I'm at the point now where I'm looking at my choice for this one, and I'm thinking, what? So that's probably bad. I think I was having the same, or at least a similar thought process as I did with Hollywood Squares, where we needed somebody because, again, you've got a panel of lunatics, and they're doing everything they can to disrupt the show. And this time, instead of choosing someone who was just kind of a known badass, I chose someone who could icy stare them into submission, but also someone who, like Liz suggested, someone who had experience with like a talk show format. I chose Martha Stewart for this.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah.
She's done, I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but she's done some stuff with Snoop Dogg, and she's really funny. I never saw her like that. It's like he brought out a different side to her that I've never seen before.
Well, because her whole personality up until that point was pretty much the kind of the homemaker and that type of thing. Well, not so much homemaker,
prim and proper, and
right.
Yeah.
It was like home design, and she did cooking shows and stuff, and was very kind of even keeled and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I was thinking was the even keel part, but also the fact that she could cut up with Snoop,
let her hair down, and be funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I wouldn't have thought of her, but I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I thought of her either, but that's okay. It's there. We did it. It's out there.
Yeah, it's out in the universe.
And you talk about the panel. They're not just lunatics. They're drunk lunatics.
Yeah.
Yep.
The most recent version, they didn't even freaking hide it. I had read something here within the last few weeks or so. I don't remember who it was that they were talking about when they were on the show, the most recent one here a couple of years ago, and how things were being handled. They taped like at 5 or so. They taped the episodes at 5. But they had the entire panel there at like 2 in the green room, getting them freaking drunk. So they were already totally drunk and been laughing and cutting up and all that kind of stuff to try to build up the chemistry, and then put them in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay. I get doing the chemistry because I mean that's kind of I think that's one of the major things about the '70s show, why it was so successful. It was the barbs between Brett and Brett Summers and Charles Nelson Riley, with Richard chiming in every once in a while, getting in his thing. But with some of the semi-regulars, especially when Betty White, because Betty White and Brett Summers, well, Brett went after everybody. Brett would go after Betty White, or would go after Fannie Flagg, or that kind of thing. But it's just, I think that's what made the show, was just the interplay between them. And yeah, Brett was drunk a lot of the time, so I think that's part of the reason why she was doing some of the stuff that's pissing me off, is because she's so fucking drunk she doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Maybe.
So all right, I didn't mean to hijack that. So Les, it's your turn.
Let's go.
No, you were hijacking. That's fine. For me, I went back to someone that or a reason that I picked one earlier. I went to Dan Lauria. Dan Lauria played the father on The Wonder Years.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That guy.
Okay.
He's funny, too.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
Yeah, I went with someone who's very funny, who could hold his own against with the panel, and you mentioned making the contestants feel welcome and all that. Joel McHale.
Nice choice.
Yeah, all right. That's cool.
I think he would knock it out of the park. That was actually one of the first ones I came up with. And I was like, oh God, he could do any of these he could do, but let's put him with Match Game so he can battle the 6 celebrities.
Cool.
It is cool.
Knowledgeable and someone that can accommodate. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Next, Liz.
All right. Our next game is, got lost in the sea of tabs, Joker's Wild. I wasn't real familiar with this one. It's a 1972 game show where contestants had to answer questions on a variety of topics, with prize monies determined by a slot machine. Like I said, I wasn't real familiar, so I kind of hung on the Joker gambling thing. And once again, TV show host, you gotta be funny. So I went with someone funny, but someone who's used to handling like celebrity poker. And I went with Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall.
Okay.
Cool.
I think you know the ins and outs pretty well and the terminology. And speaking of Snoop Dogg, I saw that he was a host of this recently.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have cast him either.
There was a lot packed into that one word. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Made an impression, eh?
I watched one episode of that within the last, I guess when I first came up with this, and I saw that there had been a version here about 3 or 4 years back, but it was Snoop Dogg's Joker's Wild. And when I say Snoop Dogg's Joker's Wild, I'm talking, it was literally let's just get down on my knees and bow to him and praise him, because everything was focused on him. The characters that they used on the wheel, or not the wheel, but the slot machine, they were all Snoop. It's just everything. It was everything went to his will. They actually, from what I read, they reached out to him and say, "Hey, do you remember the show?" He said, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed it as a kid. Well, we want you to be a host." And of course they made him like executive producer and God knows what else. It was.
Wow.
It was not enjoyable at all, in my opinion. I understand wanting to modernize it, because the version I was seeing was late 70s, I don't know
Yeah.
if it was in the 80s, but I definitely remember the 70s. And it was kind of a fun game show. But I watched one. I just watched that one episode, and I was like, that was too long, even at 22 minutes.
Yeah, I
It was
can't
it was
listen to
too
him
much.
for too long.
Yeah.
He was talking about his son's football team or something on something I was watching. It's like, I can't. I can't. Even when he's trying to be serious, I can't understand him,
Yeah.
A Rizzle.
Oh man.
Okay. All righty, Mikey.
Well, that's a shame because I picked Snoop Dogg. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Good.
Okay, so this was the first one I picked, and you'll see why soon enough. Even though the connection is flimsy as hell at best, because this was the start of my brain. I think this was what put me in the silly mood that made me make all of these oddball picks. Because for the Joker's Wild, I chose Mark Hamill.
I love it.
I do. I mean,
Whether he does the voice or not, I mean, he'd have
It
to at
works.
some point, but yeah. He's also just the kind of guy you'd want to watch on TV.
He is so funny. He is. It's funny. Just the other day, one of these suggestions, but I can't remember his name. The talk show over in England. Someone had edited all.
Oh, Graham Norton?
Yeah, Graham Norton. Thank you. God, I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Someone edited a bunch of the episodes where the cast of Star Wars was on, and one of the first ones had Mark Hamill on there. And of course, they were talking about the whole thing about the spoiler of Empire Strikes Back. And he was telling the story and all that, and just the whole thing with him saying he couldn't tell anybody, and then he mentions Carrie Fisher, and he's like, well, you got telephone, you got telegram, you got telecarry. he said that he and Harrison, if they wanted something to get out there, they would tell her and say, now this is in strict confidence. You cannot tell anybody. And the next thing you know, it's out there.
Yeah, well, the thing to keep in mind is that Carrie Fisher never had a filter. That wasn't something
true.
that developed later in life. She never had a filter.
That's true. That's true. He would be great. I think he'd be very great. Okay, Les.
Just because of the wild attitude, I was thinking Jim Carrey.
Okay.
yeah.
That could be fun.
Let him lead whatever direction he wants.
Yep.
Okay.
He
Cool.
can do both. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. I think with all of these that you pick, they have to have a sense of humor
Yes.
just to keep people engaged and entertained. Even with how serious Trebek is, he cracked a joke every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. For me, this was an early one. It obviously wasn't the first, though. It was pretty up there. The TV was on. I saw him. I'm like, oh God, he could do it. It would be so much fun. Like you said, it's got to be someone that has sense of humor. He does. And God, just a deadpan face of his. Brad Garrett.
Yeah.
Herman.
What was that, Les?
Herman.
Oh,
He played Herman Munster on one of the TV movies.
Mhm.
The other night, one of the selections was the bloopers and outtakes from Everybody Loves Raymond, and there was one scene where Patricia was in the kitchen, and he opens the door and he goes, "Hi, Lily," and he's shaking. He's doing a perfect Gwen, and everybody
That's
just
awesome.
loses it. It was just, oh man,
Because honestly, Patricia would have made a good Lily.
yeah.
She would have.
I mean, I went back and watched that I don't know how many times, and I just could not stop laughing because yeah, it was so spot on. So
Cool.
that is my choice.
And as
I like
crazy as it is, he's got a good voice for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So what's next, Liz?
All right. This is another one I wasn't too familiar with. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking it's kind of like Jeopardy, but tic-tac-toe style, where you can block the other contestants by answering a question in that category below where they've answered. Since I didn't know too much about this one, once again, I wanted to keep it funny or, or serious. And this guy, I would consider him Mr. TV. He took over after one of the other funniest men on TV and did pretty successful, and pretty much everything he's been in has been Emmy winning and successful. So I went with Mr. Jay Leno, who's good at hosting.
Yeah. True enough. Also a pretty
Yep.
funny guy, really.
Very funny guy. Yep.
Yeah, and he has his current game show on too.
Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's You Bet Your Life, right? The old Groucho Marx show.
Okay. So the last thing I saw him in was with Tim Allen. Not Home Improvement, the other one.
Home Construction.
Home
No,
Demolition.
no, it wasn't. Last Man Standing. There you go. Last Man Standing. He was a mechanic on there and worked on cars and stuff.
Cool.
I wonder if he knows anything about fixing cars.
Just a little. See, and that was another thing I had seen him on not too long ago too, was he's got like a show where he like shows off these most of them are his, but like these nice cars and stuff. I think it's like Jay's Garage or something.
Just
And then
watch
not
out for
too
the
long
fire.
ago, yeah, that's what I was saying, his garage caught on fire.
Mhm.
And what's sad, man, his garage is nice. I'm curious what was destroyed in there, because he had some like classic rare stuff in there.
Oh yeah, he did.
I don't know a lot about cars, but I know pretty. And they really were, So, yeah, I went with Mr. TV.
Cool. Okay.
Nice.
Mikey.
Okay. So this one might prove to be a bit of a what the fuck moment. But that's okay.
What the fuck?
I decided to go pure raw personality for this because I remember this show and I remember I didn't like the host much. So I was like, this I think this guy would make possibly the most interesting and almost certainly the weirdest game show host in TV history. I'm giving it to Christopher Walken.
Ooh. I
It
like
would be
that.
a change after Wink Martindale, yes. I understand.
I thought so.
I like it.
I do too.
It's definitely different.
Very different.
How come when you say very different, Les, it sounds so much like batshit crazy?
Well, just remember, like he hasn't revealed his yet, so
I know.
turnabout's fair play.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hey, Les, what's your
Hi.
pick?
I think I got the same one that Mike did. Take that, you bastard. For me, tic-tac-toe, I went Zachary Levi, the star of Chuck.
Yeah,
Cool.
and whoever Bay wants to play Rudy Richards, but that's not going to happen. But hey, that's okay. That's a good choice. I like him. I like him a lot.
that. Yep. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Mine might be a little out there. Maybe not Christopher Walken, but it might be. The problem with him is actually keeping him in the United States because he's usually out a lot. Josh Gates. I would love to see him do a game show because he's funny as hell too.
Okay.
It is a little out there, I can tell.
It is, but it's viable.
I think he can do it. I think he has the personality to do it. He could be funny, but he can also keep it straight because that's what he was doing with the other shows that he's hosted over the years. So,
Okay, I had to look him up. I like that.
Sure, why not? He's a pro at it for sure.
You definitely got a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, next.
That's me. Okay.
Cue Liz. It's her turn.
Almost. And go. Almost done here. Next game we have is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? This one I am familiar with. It's a little more current. These you had to answer questions in increments of money, and the goal was to win $1 million. But the more you went along, the harder the questions got. You had 4 options where you could like phone a friend, ask the audience, do a 50-50, and pass, I think was the last one. I can't remember the fourth one.
I don't remember right now.
I don't remember
Yeah.
the fourth one, but okay.
But maybe it was only 3. Maybe
Well,
it was.
they may have added a fourth one for the
Maybe.
daytime show or some
Could be.
such. It could
Yeah.
have done that.
For people like me that couldn't figure out the first 3 anyway.
This one was also another one that's run here in America and in the UK, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's been
And
all over the world.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I think in the UK, the girl we were talking about with Weakest Link does it over there.
Maybe.
So over here, I wanted to match that energy, and I wanted to have a female that could rival her, being funny and also cut you to the bone real quick while being funny. And I went with Jane Lynch, who
I had a feeling that's where you were headed,
So did I.
which is not wrong.
Yep.
I think she is hosting something too.
When they redid
Yeah.
The Weakest Link over here, she did it.
Okay.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yep. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know she does like Family Game Night or something on ABC.
Uh-huh.
So
I had a list of who is hosting these at one time. I don't know what happened to that list. I may have it over here. Hang on a second.
Had to go searching through a sea of tabs, huh?
Well, I may not have this particular one. But go ahead. I'm gonna look.
Oh, it's my turn.
Mm.
Yeah, this was another one of my weird moment picks. Not that I don't think he would be good at it. I do think he would be good at it because we're picking people who are funny and who can also do some serious stuff when they need to.
Yeah.
But the reason I picked this guy is a little weird. So I chose Mike Myers for this. I don't think he probably needs to dress up as Dr. Evil all of the time.
Yeah.
But I could totally
Maybe
see
Shrek.
him being a recurring bit in the remake of this show for sure.
I'm like, he's funny.
He was doing the Gong Show. When they did the Gong Show, and he was doing it as a character. I can't remember. Because that's what I was
doing
just
a
about to
Chuck
look up.
Barris impression.
I never watched it.
Me either.
So that's how I saw Howie Mandel for the first time. He went on the Gong Show and did his Bobby voice.
Hmm.
And
He did his Bobby voice was from his stand up back in the early 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he
And then
had
he
been
did the glove over his head too.
because the stand up had gotten him a role on Saint Elsewhere,
Yes.
I believe.
Mm-hmm. Which all was after the Gong Show.
Oh, you mean the original Gong Show? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, because
Like way back
yeah,
then.
like late 70s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, the character was Tommy Maitland. This was back in 2017, so it's been a bit.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprising, just interesting.
Yep. Okay. Next.
For me, I went with someone that was extremely intelligent. I went with Danica McKellar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, she has her degree in mathematics,
Mm-hmm.
so she knows what's going on around her. And to me, she's one of those that is very soothing as she speaks.
Get her away from those Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, please.
Also, clearly somebody has been watching a lot of Wonder Years reruns
I was
lately.
thinking
Yes.
that. We're having a Wonder Years night.
Not really, but I got reason I need to now.
Clearly, it's on your mind, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah. She's a good choice, though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
My original choice had made news here a few months ago as he's getting his own game show to be a host. So I guess he's out of the running, and that is LeVar Burton.
Ooh.
So you do Jeopardy or
He's doing Trivia Pursuit.
oh,
Very cool.
Neat.
They're doing a game show, Trivia Pursuit, and he's going to be the host.
Sweet.
So I kind of cheated. I went back to Jimmy Kimmel because he's done such a great job on it.
Yeah, that's
Kimmel.
totally a cheat.
That's totally a cheat.
But again, comedian, it works.
Yeah.
Comedian, good with the contestants and all that. So yeah,
Lots
Very
of experience at this point with talk shows. So yeah.
well, and it's not his first game show because he did Win Ben Stein's Money all
Right.
those ages ago.
Right.
So
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. I like it.
all right, last one, Liz.
Last one. Oh, man.
make it count, girl.
All right. Last one is win, lose, or draw. Of course, this is exactly like it sounds. Two teams of people. You had to draw it while they guessed, kind of thing. On this one, I wanted someone who could draw. So I was thinking, who do we know that's a funny artist? And the only person who kept popping out in my mind is absolutely hilarious on Twitter. She's always got something funny to say. She definitely can draw and tell a good story. So I went with Miss Gail Simone on this one.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting choice.
Yeah. I think she would do it. Plus, she's so into games, any kind of tabletop game and that kind of thing. So,
Oh God, yeah, I've seen. She's tweeted recently a bunch of stuff about games. So yeah.
yeah, so I think she'd get a kick out of doing something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Mikey.
That is not the direction I went. I thought about this show and I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, sure. If you want to be boring and mundane, you can go with someone who can draw.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't
I'm
resist.
going
Shots
to tweet her
fired.
you said that.
I couldn't resist. Oh, hell no. I love Gail. She's awesome. But I decided to add a little bit of a twist to this and put in somebody who could be a little more aggressive about it. Maybe someone with a history of being a little bit shouty. I picked Gordon Ramsay to do this.
Oh, I like that.
That looks
That's
like
definitely-
shit. Are you stupid?
What the hell is wrong with you?
Are you an idiot?
No, and honestly, one of the reasons I did was because I can't remember the name. It was something simple. What was it, Gordon at Home or something like that. I don't remember the name of the show, but he did this like it's just one. I think it was just one season of this half-hour cooking show where he's like at home cooking with his family. And it's a totally different Gordon Ramsay than you'd be
It is,
used to
yeah.
if you watched him on like Kitchen Nightmares and Hell's Kitchen and shit like that. It's a totally he's like a really nice guy
Yeah.
with his family. I mean, he kind of has to be because his wife would friggin' kill him otherwise. But
Right.
yeah, so it's this. He's got this really wide sweeping contrast of personalities, and I think that would be fun for a game show like this.
Well, he did a few like Hotel Hell and that kind of thing where he showed his caring side. He's, and in the industry he's in, to maintain 5 stars, you have to be an asshole. You have to be, or you don't get 5 stars,
Mhm.
and that's his name. But when you see him outside of that, like on TikTok, a lot of people are like, "Hey, Gordon, what do you think about my dish?" Some of them he's like, "Oh, that's shit, throw it away." But, others he's like, if you did this instead, so
Right. He's trying
He
to be
can be
encouraging, and
yeah,
he's
very,
he's as much a teacher as anything else,
yeah.
and
So
that
I-
takes kind of a special type of person to be able to do that.
Mhm.
It does. And then with
Yep.
working with people with, like Hotel Hell and stuff, you have to really be good with people to get down on that level and understand the problem and work with them and want to help them.
Well, and what's the kid one that he does? The cooking. Fuck, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh yeah, not Top Chef. It's
It-
it is
yeah.
Top Chef. Yeah,
Is it-
Top Chef Junior.
Yeah, that must be the one I'm thinking
Yep.
of. There might even be another one that's similar. But yeah, I mean, but to work with kids like that, you can't just be a shouty, rotten bastard all the time.
Mm-mm. And he's funny.
He's in there teaching them, yeah, and he's got a
Yeah.
sense of humor. So I thought it would be fun.
He is cute with kids, so you can tell he's a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I like the choice.
Yep. Next.
I went with, since money is no object in these, obviously,
Right.
I went with Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, I like him too.
Okay.
Cool.
One
That's
of those
cool.
that just let him loose and see what happens.
Right.
Yep.
Well, for me, I went with someone who has already been mentioned, was mentioned earlier, not as a choice, but as someone who had been a host on a previous game. And I thought my reason is if you saw the show, Yeah, it was a game show, but Bert Convy was more of kind of like, well, he is the host entertaining a party. Because, I mean, let's face it, they call it Win-Lose or Draw, but it was essentially Pictionary. It's just their version.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just couldn't get the brand name for it.
So I went with someone who I thought would be an excellent host, who could be very entertaining, can be off the wall if he has to be, but can pull it in when he needs to be. Howie Mandel.
There you go.
I knew you were going to say Christopher Walken. But anyway.
He's a good hope.
He was my next choice.
Absolutely.
I really wish I had a list. I had a list of who are some of the more recent game show hosts that are shows that are going on. Because some of the ones this may
Just
surprise.
find TV listings right now. Everything on is a friggin' game show.
True, but what I was going to mention is I don't know if you've watched the newest $100,000 Pyramid with Michael Strahan. He's doing a good job. That's not something I would have thought of. I would not have thought of him. Now, if they would get him off Good Morning America, that would be great. But he's and the other one, the other two I wanted to mention was Let's Make a Deal, where we have I'm blanking on his name.
Who's doing that right now? I don't even know. Not that anybody could ever replace Monty Hall.
Wayne Brady.
Oh,
Wayne
yeah,
Brady's
yeah,
house. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. I guess there's just too many names in my head right now, but he's done a great job. And of course Drew Carey on The Price is Right. He would not have been one I would have thought of as a game show host, but he took over the reins and he's done a great job.
He really has. And such a big change it's done on him. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Bob Barker had to let his hair go white eventually too. So.
Yeah.
I still remember Drew from his stand-up where he was imitating the image on the back of the comic book of the guy looking at his hand with the X-ray glasses.
I remember him doing the stand-up with his imitation of Bernie Kosar.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Had the mic stand and let it wobble back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "Here's Bernie Kosar."
Pretty much.
I remember him from the Drew Carey show, and I never thought I'd be happy about someone calling me Mimi. Never find words before.
Time changes everything, doesn't it?
Right.
Time and a grandkid.
Yeah.
So this was fun.
It
was different. It was interesting.
Okay. I've got a couple more.
Okay.
Who do you trust? Do you remember Who Do You Trust?
Nope.
No.
Johnny Carson was one of the hosts at Who Do You Trust?
Oh, cool.
I went with somebody distinguished. Helen Mirren.
Okay.
There you go.
There was a game show called Video Village where the contestants would go down one of three paths. One was riches, one was like trips and things. And I went with James Earl Jones.
Okay.
That's almost a cheat pick too. Jeez. He would be awesome.
And then my big picks for Hollywood Squares.
Mm-hmm.
I had Olivia D'Abo.
Another Wonder Years alum.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a Bond girl, too,
Yes,
remember?
she was.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Damn, pulling out all the stops here.
Hallie Mills. There's another reference. Liev Schreiber.
Cool.
Ron White. Salil Moonfry. Punky Brewster.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Howard.
That would
And
be
I
interesting.
That would.
I twisted that. It could be Ron, it could be Clint. But that Barney Miller, what an actor. Let's see who I had here. Oh, Isla Fisher.
Okay.
Cool.
And in the center square, for me, would Bill Engvall.
Yeah.
Here's your sign.
Did you get a chance to watch one of his specials? It's funny stuff.
It is.
Agreed.
Well, if you do Bill and Ron White, you have to have
Oh.
Jeff Foxworthy somewhere in there.
That's where I had to draw the line, though.
Just say them three, you'd never get anything done on that show.
Poor Larry. He gets no love.
Poor
Yeah.
Larry.
He's done all right for himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He made it into a fucking
He
Disney
got
movie,
it
dude.
done.
Come on.
That guy never spent any time in the South.
Yeah.
He's from Nebraska. Come on.
Plus, I think those three toured more. Larry kind of got his start and kind of branched off from those three.
Right, he landed in a Disney movie and never looked back.
Yeah. Well, he had America wearing flannel for a long time. I still see pickup trucks with "Get Her Done" on the backs.
Uh-huh.
He left to stay.
He struck a nerve. That's funny. You should word it quite exactly like that. But yeah.
Yeah, he got on some people's nerves. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Les is fuming as we speak here.
Mm-hmm. I thought I heard some sizzling. Yeah. All right. So that is casting call number 37.
Oh God, we're counting them now. Why not?
Well, you know what? The reason why I found out was 37 is I thought I would add a page to the website where we have all those just in case anybody wanted to go back and check them out. Then I found it was 37, and I said, "Well, fuck that noise."
Shit, no, that's work.
That's work. That's too much work. If I had been doing it a long time or done it a couple of years ago, probably would have been different. But so anyway,
Cool.
so alrighty. Anything else before we go ahead and take a break?
No.
You ready to move on? I get it. Okay.
Anchor chain.
All right. On that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, it's Mikey and me. Mike, would you like to go ahead and go first?
Oh, sure. So an article magically appeared in our Discord a few days ago.
We have Discord?
I know.
It's the Discord
Right?
thing.
Yeah, I didn't mention it, but we do.
I think it's funny that it showed up on the 12th, which was Sunday. So technically the weekend wasn't even over yet. Although I guess by Sunday they know these things. I don't know. This is not my deal, but
I've never understood that, but yeah, if they've been doing that for years, I don't get
I
it.
think it's an estimate, honestly. They even
Yeah.
say it's studio estimates here. But so anyway, so the box office this past weekend was led by the new MCU movie, The Marvels, which opened with 47 at this time an estimated $47 million opening weekend. The second movie where was it? Oh, yeah, okay, here it is. Yeah, this the number two movie for the weekend was the Five Nights at Freddy's remake, which made $9 million. So now I will grant you that a movie like The Marvels, which is apparently the 33rd MCU film, so as sequels go, it's pretty far down there, I guess. Now, admittedly, they spent a piss pot full of money on this. Which, I mean, did they spend $200 million on it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not looking it up. I'm obviously failing at that as it is, because it's distracting. But so the headline of this AP article, this Associated Press article, The Marvels melts down at the box office, marking a new low for the MCU. So this is pegged as a bomb in an opening weekend where it beat the next biggest competitor by a multiplier of 4. Almost 5, to be honest. It made nearly 5 times the amount of movie that its next competitor made. And it's a bomb. And that's the 47 million is just domestic, as far as I know.
Yes. Because worldwide was like 110.
So there's a perfectly good chance that in the month or so that they seem to give a shit about these things, this movie is going to probably more than make its money back. And even if it doesn't, none of this counts streaming revenue. And somehow this movie is a bomb. I'm now, we've talked about this before multiple times, and I'm sure we're not done talking about it, but the standards for these things, I swear, are a moving target.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, I don't think it doesn't seem like how much they spent making a movie has anything to do with what makes it a success or not. It's just kind of ridiculous. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure that this article, and honestly, not even the entire article, the article seems relatively detached. It's really just the title. I mean, does the title of an article, of a news article about how much money a movie made determine its success or failure? I'm starting to think maybe so. Because I don't see any correlation between the numbers. I mean, I could go find any of a dozen different examples recently of movies that made money but were still considered bombs.
Right.
I mean, it almost seems like somebody's gunning for this movie, which honestly, given the movie that it is, and the fact that it's a sequel of a movie that that was successful financially, apparently, but caught a lot of critical shit.
Yes.
I mean, this is the sequel to that. So Are we sure that it's not just catching a lot of critical shit by people who haven't seen it yet? I mean, that's a thing that happens on the internet these days. I'm just saying.
Oh, believe me, when this number came out, everybody goes, see, the MCU's failing. They shouldn't be doing this. And of course, this is on the heels of all the shows that they've been putting out, which has had different responses to, but most of them have been negative. Is this movie a failure? Well, I mean, compared to like an Iron Man movie, probably. It didn't pull in the money as Iron Man, but is it realistic for you to think that it was going to pull in that kind of money? If you did, then you're a fucking idiot and should not be in charge of whatever you're doing.
Right.
That's what I was about to say. It's not fair to ask a movie. I mean, yes, Captain Marvel is a big character, don't get me wrong, but it was basically a B, sidekick kind of movie to be on the same level as Iron Man or Captain America. It's not fair. They're not on the same footing. It'd be like putting Batman up against Pepper Pot. Of course Batman's going to do better. They know him better.
It's the thing is we've been dealing with Marvel movies for over 10 years. It's more like 12, 13, something like that. Whatever. Whenever there's a new one comes out, this type of shit comes up, is superhero fatigue finally setting in? Has Marvel done more than, have they bitten off more than they can chew, and all this kind of stuff? It's almost like in the comic book world where, are comic books dying? Or are they going to die out to a manga? It's like every few months it pops up. It pops up again. But because people want to read it and people want to talk about it, so
comic books have been dying for 60 years.
Yeah,
which is a pretty good lifespan, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, okay, so a Phase 5 movie didn't make $1 billion. Maybe it's not a failure. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think they jumped the gun for sure, but I think what they're doing though is they're comparing it to they're comparing it to movies who had a bigger fandom to begin with. Even if the movie flopped, like I hate to keep using Batman, but Batman's going to do good no matter what. Even if the movie absolutely sucks and the story sucks and they don't pick Jensen, I mean, people are still going to go.
We almost made it, Mike. We almost made it.
That's what I get for bringing up movies.
Right. But people are going to go watch it because it's Batman, just because of the name alone. Think of all of the things that they stamped Harley Quinn on, and people went and watched it just because it had that name alone. So when you have a movie that doesn't have that name where people go, hey, I think I know that name, it's not going to pull your crowd at first. It's going to have to find a footing and then set off when people are like, hey, this is pretty cool, But what Les has complained about before is kind of what set up this movie to fail. Most of this movie, the prequel, has been told in their TV shows on Disney Plus,
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't seen those, you don't know who these people are. I don't know who one of them is. She was in WandaVision too, and I still can't tell you what her name is. So
Monica Rambeau.
Yeah. I don't know what superhero she is, or so it's asking a lot of performance from a movie that people aren't real familiar with. There's nothing, I have to go see this because it's so and so. We don't know them that well.
Yeah, that has been brought up, and I believe Marvel Studios are going to address that, where you don't have to watch everything because it's not possible. It's tough. I saw something that they asked several writers of that particular website, and one of them was like, this is my job of watching movies and TV shows, and I can't keep up with this. This is my job, and I can't do it. Mm-hmm. So how the hell is the public supposed to keep up with? So yeah, that's something they need to move away with. Yeah, you need to watch WandaVision to understand Monica, where Monica came from. And for the record, Monica was the first Captain Marvel after Marvel died in the comics.
Oh, okay.
So she was the first one to get the mantle after he died back in the early 80s. And then you have to watch Miss Marvel so you know who Miss Marvel is.
Yep.
So there's about
2 different shows.
There's about 12 episodes right there you have to watch, so you have to know about it. But you don't know what else you need to do.
Yeah. And they're like, well, you don't have to. Well, no, you don't have to watch those, but if you kind of want to know who they are before you go watch a 2-hour movie, it would be nice if you watch those.
If you want to understand what the hell's being referred to and what's obviously being built on, then yeah, you gotta watch it.
Right, and if you're just some
although
dude,
they say it doesn't, a lot of these movies springboard straight out of that TV show. The Doctor Strange one with Wanda. It would have helped if you would have seen Wanda, so you kind of, the last time we saw Wanda in a movie, she was upset her husband died, but she was still good and helping and took down Thanos. But, when we see her in the next movie, she's crazy and torching villages and killing Avengers and,
Right, and if you're just some dude who's watching movies for a living and you're either not inclined or not able to keep up with all of that BS, guess what? You're probably going to write stuff in your articles that's less than happy about all of it.
Right.
Because you're cranky because you just watched this movie that you didn't really understand because you didn't know any of the characters because you haven't watched 23 hours of previous homework for this 2-hour movie that you didn't really care about in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, I can see where some of these articles are going to get pissy about it because they don't care.
And they use these to spring the bigger movies off, like Iron Man and that kind of stuff. They did the same thing with, like, Ant-Man. I think he was a springboard. He was never a main guy. He was just a kind of side story they told.
Here and there.
Yeah. Kind of a side story.
It's like they had a good idea with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which now, according to them, doesn't exist anymore. But they dealt with things that were in the movie, in the previous movie, and kind of set up the next movie. But you don't have to watch the show to understand what the hell's going on in the film. Because the first time they did this was the lead up into Winter Soldier, because they were dealing with the takedown of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of Hydra had infiltrated it, and it dealt with that in the show. But you didn't have to watch that to see that happened in the movie too.
Right, they showed you that at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't important to watch the show and to see the movie, but seeing the show, you go, okay, I understand where we are in the timeline and what's going on and that kind of stuff, and that's fine, all well and good. But it's like they took that and it's like, well, let's do more than that, and we're like, no, you probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
That was a bridge too far.
Right, they kind of got lost in what they thought was a cool idea.
But
what it ultimately ended up being was overwhelming for the audience.
Yep. Well, they're trying to capture the same lightning they did with Phase 1. Phase 1 did well and smashed the box office in half because it was different. It was exciting. It was our characters and, a new way from Marvel, who had never given us that. Okay, now we're in Phase 5. You've been doing this now. We're used to this. It's no longer lightning in a bottle.
Anymore.
No. Now you're going to have to do something different.
$400 or $500 million worth of exciting, not $1.7 billion worth of exciting.
Exactly. Going to have to find a new formula.
It doesn't make it a failure. Any other $500 million movie would be a smashing success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To expect them to pull in 500, 600 million off of characters who even in the comic books would be listed as B or C.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking your expectations are very unrealistic. You should have pulled that in and then go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I know it costs us this much, but it's this character, or in this case it's these characters. That's not going to be the kind of pull, especially like Mike referenced that Captain Marvel was getting a lot of shit from the first film. There was some stuff regarding Miss Marvel. I know, but it was more of them changing the powers and then saying that she's she's inhuman, and then now they turn around and change that back to, well, she's a mutant inhuman, so she can actually be part of so they can actually have her in the X-Men comics now. You're just going,
yeah, make up your mind.
It's
right.
like,
the kicker with the dollar amounts is that honestly, it's not Marvel Studios that's setting that bar.
Right.
Mm-mm.
It's the media.
That's true.
Because it's not even the viewers, because they don't fucking know. They dropped their $15, but that's all they did. So they don't see how many other people dropped their $15. It's the media that's setting these expectations.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're setting expectations from a movie that was 15 years ago. And that's where they're shitting on in their own nests at this point, because I mean, why would we listen to them? Because they're just talking shit about stuff they don't understand.
They're creating clickbait, and that's all they care about.
Right.
Well, and you also have these bigwigs at Marvel who know nothing about the comic books and expecting, like we said, B characters to perform that don't even pull in those numbers in the comics. If you're not selling it there, why are you going to sell it on the big screen?
Right. Why are you risking $200 million worth of film budget on a character that
is not your money property?
Is a C-tier character.
Yep.
Yep.
So they're out of touch with their fan base.
So it's frustrating, but
it is.
What are you going to do? We're going to rant about it a little on our podcast and then move on. That's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Les, do you have anything?
I haven't seen it. I hope. I mean, it might be good.
It might be.
Most of the stuff people don't like, I do. So.
Les, do you have any thoughts, or do we say it all?
A couple things.
Okay.
What was their last big movie? What was Marvel's last big movie?
Honestly, probably Endgame, maybe No Way Home.
Yeah, I would have to say big movie was Endgame.
But maybe No Way Home may be the last one, because that was the last one after Endgame. I don't think. I may be wrong.
Well, and after Chad Boseman died, didn't they put out a Black Panther that did real well too?
I don't remember the numbers.
There was a Black Panther too. I don't.
Yeah, there was, but I don't know
how quote unquote successful it was.
I'm going to say the last one was Guardians 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That one was good.
But
I don't know if it was. I don't know how well.
But it was also. There was a couple of things going for Guardians, though. It was James Gunn's farewell movie to Marvel, and it was also the farewell to the Guardians. So,
as we know it, yes.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is Wikipedia, so we don't know how accurate it is. They do cite sources. Budget was $250 million. Box office was $845.6 million. So. That's.
And that was which one?
Guardians 3.
Guardians 3. Yeah.
And to me, that was a big movie.
That was.
This one.
So good.
I'm sorry it's not going to pull even close to that.
I wouldn't expect it to.
Right. Yeah. We were more invested. Would. Yeah. Well, and they were part of the OG, as I call them, the first phase.
I think Marvel was expecting it, though. I think they believed that this was going to be a turnaround because they had to put out the second Doctor Strange movie.
Mm-hmm.
They put out The Eternals, which should have been kept in a box.
Eternally.
Eternally, yes. It was. I'm sorry, but that was so bad that they were just trying to, going back to the thought, they were just trying to make money.
Yeah.
So if this one tanks, and I don't see that there's anything really there that's saying it won't, I kind of hope it doesn't. But Mike and I were talking about the plot line, things like that, and it was, to me, it was a ripoff. I just think that they expected the followers to just come with their money in hand
Yeah.
and say, we're here.
A follow over.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you know, if you look at the list of movies they did put out, Phase 1 and 2 was their heavy hitters. I mean, these were the top of the line, their A game. You know, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. You know, that was kaboom. And now you've got, you know, Ant-Man and Captain Marvel. I mean, it's not the kaboom anymore. It's the
Well, I mean,
so they
you
can't
can
expect this last phase to do as well when it's not their heavy hitters.
exactly, but I don't fault them from. I appreciate they're doing that. That is the thing that we've talked about before. That's pissed me off about DC. They try to do something different. It doesn't do so well. So okay, well let's just put out another fucking Batman movie because that's going to make money.
Yeah.
That's why we get Batman movies. We don't get a Batgirl movie. We don't get whatever else another. It doesn't do well, so they take the idea. Well, we'll just keep it what works and what makes money.
See, they can do that, but they shouldn't try to interweave all their stories then. If you want to do your B-list, I don't want to call it a B movie, but if you want to have your side characters, then it shouldn't be woven into that main story. Let them kind of stand on their own a little bit. That way, when you walk into that movie, you're not expecting it to be as good as this big whole story they're telling you over here, you know. Let them stand, but, you know.
Are you talking Marvel or DC?
Both of them. I think DC should concentrate on their villains a little more. I think that's been severely neglected with them. It's always the good guys. Give us a bad guy movie. Joker did well. Went over $1 billion. People wanted that. We don't always want to see that the good guy wins because, hell, this is life, and that don't happen. Sorry.
Well, you're getting a wish. You're getting your wish because you're getting a singing Joker next year.
See, that was like a genie wish because I didn't ask for that.
Well, you said you wanted more villain films, and you're getting one. It's gonna be Joker and Harley singing throughout the whole thing. So, yay!
That being said, though, I think they kind of nailed Harley in this one, though. Lady Gaga is going to swing this out of the park, and if it is a musical, who better to sing it than someone who professionally sings? So, I don't know how good of a singer Joaquin is. Fingers crossed.
Well, he did the Johnny Cash movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I have it's funny. It's apparently this week is all movie themed.
Hey.
Yay!
Yay!
This little news item. It actually came the original information about it. It actually came out a couple weeks earlier in a, I guess it was an interview with a Hollywood Reporter. It's a film that we've talked about a few times on here. Came out last year. But the director and co-writer named Scott Mann of the film Fall is talking about the sequel, but it's not a sequel. It is a second part of a trilogy.
Oh, no.
Well, at least she didn't say a quadrology or whatever.
If it's not a remake, it's a first chapter of a trilogy, because that's the way they think out there. Why in the fuck should this story be a trilogy?
Right. Who would be stupid enough to see I'm disconnecting
right.
with fantasy again?
Yep.
Maybe there was a bottle of perfume up there.
I saw this and I went, oh my God, because the story was told in the first film, but apparently not, because somehow these morons are going to stretch it out.
Somebody wrote a big enough check to make number 2 and number 3 happen.
Well, the second one was pretty much guaranteed, but the fact that apparently he conned him in and said, "Oh no, it's actually a trilogy." Really?
Oh man! Like I said, how many different ways can you tell that story? That hasn't already been told. Because you can go to a mountain, but been done. Where else could you go that high?
Go out into space and then fall, accidentally open the airlock and fall out. I don't know.
Oh man!
But yeah,
I would hope get to the atmosphere quick.
I don't understand that, but that's just the mindset. It was something it's funny, because I found out right around the same time I found out about this. I had read somewhere that Saw was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and I'm like, well, that makes sense considering the way the third film ended.
Yeah.
But it had done so well that they said, well, come on, it's a cash cow. We got to do 7 more. We got to do 7 more and think about doing another 7. But that was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense thinking back on it, but it's like, why? Why can't the story be told? Heaven forbid it be told in 1 film, or 2. You mentioned
the 4 thing.
Do in 4 films. Okay, 4. Hey, that's okay. That's different. Especially if the story actually can hold and hold in that 4 films. That's the problem with almost all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're getting 2 more. We're getting 2 more fall films, guys. and who knows what happens after that one?
Called Fall, Hit, and Splat.
The 4th one would be called Bounce.
Bounce. Okay.
Based on the fabric softener?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a nice little plug. Hopefully we get some money off them.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome. Okay. Well, since we've been talking about movies, and if you don't want to go to the theater, but you just love paying for that popcorn and candy and drinks, Cinemark's got you covered. They are testing out, and fortunately or unfortunately, Texas is the test state. They are testing where you can order a big bucket of popcorn, a couple of boxes of candy, and a couple of large drinks, and DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber can deliver it for you.
Oh, God.
Why the hell?
Okay.
Y'all are going to laugh.
Just give them credit for trying, man.
They gotta make up for that lost revenue because of all the movies hitting streaming services instead of going to the theaters. They gotta make that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you're already paying for streaming a movie that you're sitting at home watching, and now you think that you need crappy popcorn or something?
Oh, but it's not crappy though.
It is crappy.
According,
the last time I had strep throat and I couldn't eat for like a week, the only thing I could think of was movie theater popcorn. I love movie theater popcorn. I had Francis.
Lord.
apparently, for the way the article reads, it sounds like Cinemark was already offering something similar, but now they're getting the big delivery people involved with this. So I that was news to me.
Crazy, but I could see it happening. I mean,
according to the article from IndieWire, it says the menu options include popcorn, soft drinks, ices, nachos, hot dogs, and candy like Sour Patch Kids, M&Ms, Junior Mints, and Reese's Pieces, amongst others. But this will vary by location.
that's pretty much all their concessions.
Mm-hmm. For an address in Fort Worth, Texas, DoorDash lists a large popcorn, 2 large drinks, and 2 candies for $23.50. That does not include taxes, delivery fees, and it doesn't mention tips. That you're going to have to do a dasher tip or a driver tip.
And that's 2 large popcorns and 2 large drinks?
No, that is 1 large popcorn,
Oh.
2 large drinks, and 2 candies for $23.50. And you're talking about another $10 in taxes and
At
fees
least.
and delivery.
Right. You could buy
Yeah.
all that shit for $10 at the grocery. But anyway.
Now, see, the delivery fee is what would get you, honestly, and tip, because tipping culture, would be the tip that would get you. But that's about what you would pay if you went to the movies for one of their combo deals.
Then they would be one of the few on DoorDash that I can tell you that they're not overcharging.
Yeah,
that's
DoorDash, one thing I've noticed. If I can order direct, I do, because they do charge a lot on Uber and stuff, or not Uber, but
yeah, the hamburger you can get from Whataburger, you order it from them, it's one price, and it's going to be a hell of a lot higher on DoorDash because they're trying to make money too.
Yeah, well, because they're paying DoorDash for their service, and they still want to make the same amount. So. Yeah. I don't know. I could kind of, I
can see people
kind of
using
see
it that way.
Because then after a while, although I've done it before, they've made it to where you can't do that now. So without a ticket, you can't walk through the front door. So, which is stupid. Why would you stop people from coming in to buy popcorn?
Security.
The biggest money maker you have.
Exactly. Yeah. Security purposes.
Security.
Yeah, I could see that. But they keep people right there to check tickets before you walk any further, to the main theater. So why not?
I mean, if someone from DoorDash shows up, they're gonna have to show something saying, "Hey, I'm with DoorDash. I'm picking up an order for Liz," and and somehow they're supposed to the dude who's his entire job is tearing up tickets is supposed to know that there's an order back there for Liz or something. I don't know how. I hadn't thought about it, and I honestly don't care.
Yeah. It is kind of weird, but I could see them wanting to, people who are streaming. What's the one thing you miss?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you can make popcorn at home, but it doesn't taste the same.
No, I don't blame them for doing it at all. I just,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I do.
Yeah, it is excessive, but there's some people who just, are excessive.
I'm sorry, that's too excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I kind of can't fault them for trying.
No, I mean, they're thinking. AMC has gone so far as to put their popcorn in Walmart stores, so you can buy AMC brand popcorn.
There you go.
They're trying to do whatever they can to make up for that lost revenue, and I don't blame them for that. But this is just.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty. Any special shout outs or mentions this week?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Safe travels, and be back here next week because we'll be doing this all again. Except for it won't be a casting call. So.
Right.
So, anything else?
Nope.
All right, we'll move on to our regular shout outs. I want to thank Pop Goes to Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Check them out. There'll be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who have been so kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter/X, and that is Podern Family. Hashtag Podern Family, that's all one word. Just put that in search. Scroll through the list, and whatever catches your attention, click on that link and download the episode. We hope you have a good time listening to them. I want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to the podcast. In the show notes, there will be a link where you can check out some of their other music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, observations, whatever, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, and there's a link, there's a tab that says About Us. There's a contact form you can fill out there. We do have a Discord. We mentioned it, but we didn't really kind of go into any kind of detail. That you can join us. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at, stuff to listen to.
Stuff to rant about.
Stuff to rant about, which we do a pretty good job at. If you want to hang out with us, we do, and we do have a section there specifically for feedback that you can post your thoughts there. Sign up for Discord is free. It is available in all the app stores for free. On social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Twitter/X, Instagram, and Hive Social, we are at Fellowship Geeks. Follow us there. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter/X accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from where you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We do appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,